Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to folks joining in from various parts of the world. We have a bunch of people on the webinar today. It's a long one, so let's get started. I'm DJ, the head of marketing at Entytle. First off, thank you so much for joining us today. We expect the event runtime to be close to 30 minutes. And with that, let's get going. Some rules of the road on the next slide. Please use the Q&A area button at the bottom of your screen. It's in the Zoom bar. Use the Q&A area button for questions to the panelists and speakers. Also, there's a chat button in case you're unable to get through to one of the panelists. Use the chat area, especially if you're facing any technical difficulties in hearing the speaker or any audio-visual issues. We'll send a recording to all of the people who are present here. The presentation itself will be shared on a need basis, so feel free to write in. We'll provide an email ID towards the end. If you need the presentation, just let us know, and we'll send it through email. Introducing the speaker for today, Shrihari. Shrihari, or Shri as we love to call him, has a computer science background and has been in the data field for over 14 plus years. He's an associate director at Entytle and also an early founding member of our team. He owns the DevOps and data products innovation at Entytle. With that short introduction, Shri, over to you.
Thanks a lot, DJ. Good morning, folks. Good evening, all those who are joining from India. So over the next few minutes, I'd like to spend about what are the various tools that people generally use in industry to enable aftermarket growth, and what is it that Entytle has to offer, because we have been working in this field for almost 9 years now and have become success partners for our customers in achieving their aftermarket growth. So basically in the era of a digital transformation and digitized world, we all know that adoption of right set of digital tools is very important. But it's not just about tools, but it's also about the culture and the process change that we bring. It is only when you incorporate all of them together, basically the people, process, and tools aspect, you can drive your business growth. So since we're talking about business growth, and since we're talking about aftermarket, let us take a step back and understand that what is it that business leaders would typically look for when they would need an aftermarket growth, right? So when we talk about aftermarket, and then install base is basically that comes as the first thing to our mind. And for anyone to know what to sell, where to sell, how to sell, right? It's important to get a 360-degree view of their install base data, get a 360-degree view of the customers, identify the customers who are at risk, identify drifting customers, arrest the churn of your customers, even dive deeper into your install base to identify where your install base is, what has happened to it, do you need to do any proactive action onto it, do you really have an excess inventory, or do you have a slow moving inventory, do you need to sell it, right? And what really happens is, and we have seen this among a plethora of our customers, is all these things that I'm talking about, everything around install base, is it is part of a tacit knowledge of certain people, and this knowledge is not really institutionalized. So this is where the culture and the process change that we're talking about, and this is where tools like Entytle come into picture, where what we have done is we have built a standard set of process around your install base, and we allow you to achieve your aftermarket growth. So this is what our vision is, right? But having said that, it's not really possible without data. And what we have seen is data is huge, data is dirty, it is in silos. There is a huge variety of data. There is not really a single source of truth which you can identify and say that this is what I'm looking for, or this is what I can rely on, right? And the amount of data that we have these days, our human brain really cannot comprehend it. So that's where we need a standard process around that data, and also a right set of tools, right? Now, having said this, we have seen this across our customer base, across all the prospects that we speak to. All of the customers, I mean, they have their transactional data stored in ERP, their opportunity data stored in CRM, and there are many such systems. There could be like their own in-house systems, and basically the data is a mess. And it's not really that these systems talk to each other. And even if they do, there is there is no single source of truth. There is no single source, single repository where you can identify and get the true picture of your install base. Despite that, what we have seen is over and above these initiatives, what our customers have done. I mean, not that they have not, tried to think about the people, process, and the tools part of it, but even that part leads into silos. For example, we have seen people running projects, building Power BI dashboards, or doing some CRM customizations, or there could be some in-house tools, or there could be some spreadsheets which eventually may lead into some silos. And there are multiple phases. It's not that everything can happen under has happened under one roof for our customers or our prospects, or across the companies that we have seen in this industrial space. And when we say that we need a single source of truth for your install base, is easier said than done, and it involves multiple different phases from data acquisition to data delivery. So the earlier slide that I showed, which had data from different sources in your ERP, CRMs, customer portal, e-commerce portal, and so on, right? So imagine you have to bring all of them together. There would be multiple phases to it. So to acquire data, you would have to write different connectors, uh, and the data would be lying around in spreadsheet. Somebody would have exposed an API, or you have to use an iPaaS to get data from your ERP or CRM systems, or there could also be custom scripts, right? Now, while you do so, uh, uh, this is one phase of your just data acquisition. The next phase is basically your profiling and unification, because unless you unify the data, look at the quality of your data, look at how your data looks like, it is really impossible for any analyst to work on it and to understand what is that you really want to do on it, right? So to do this, we have seen people using a Trifecta or a Talent or a Databricks or any other third-party application. Now, only when you have profiled and clean your data, you would you would be in a position to analyze it. And with AI and ML becoming a commodity, there are a lot of tools. You could use Azure AutoML, AWS AutoML, or any of your custom built stuff to analyze the data. And finally, the data delivery could happen to either your Power BI dashboard, to your ERP systems, your CRM systems, ServiceMax, or any other aftermarket CRM. Right now, imagine any organization wanted to do all of this together, right? So this would take lots of dollars, lots of time, a different type of skill set, right? And the logos and the companies that you see here, they are not really install-based specialists. They are basically someone, a Trifecta is in data wrangler, is a data wrangler. Talent is a data stewardship platform. AWS and Azure, they have a wide range of services. Correct. So this is where the differentiation factor with Entytle comes into picture. What we have done is we have built a one-stop shop that would be purpose-built on install base and aftermarket, and to do everything for you from data acquisition to data delivery by just focusing on what is required on your install base, right? So when we say that, what we have also done, so because change begins at home. So when we started this company and when we started building our flagship product, the first thing that we did was, if we have to deliver value to our customers, if we have to deliver all the things at scale, at speed, we will first have to build a product that which our own teams would use it to handle data and AI analytics at a large scale, and and also do it in a repeatable format. So this is where we have built a product called as Install Base Data Studio, which does everything from data acquisition to data delivery by keeping a laser sharp focus on your install base data. So the tech stack that we envision is basically, you have all the data that you get. And what you see on the left hand side is basically the raw data, your assets, your transactions, your transactions, which include your part order transactions, services, service contracts, your customer data. And on the right hand side, basically you could get actionable leads, opportunities, the health of your customers. You would be in a position to visualize your entire install base. So, and what you see in the center is, this is where our install base platform lies, where we have built APIs to where our customers can actually access these APIs and get data. We have built our own product where you can see the customer 360, install base 360. The analytics and AI capabilities that we have, they are purpose built on industrial OEMs, on aftermarket, and basically having a lot of install base related use cases like wallet share, customer loyalty, what is the propensity that a customer would buy something from you. And what you see at the bottom is basically the data prep layer, where we do all the data cleaning, unification, deduplication, data enrichment, augmentation, and so on. And when I say that we are able to do it in a scalable and repeatable manner, uh, and the basically the secret sauce there is the install based data studio which we have built uh, for our own teams, so that they can do everything from data acquisition to data delivery, which includes all these phases, data prep and analytics, in a repeatable form. So I'll just give you a deep dive on what we do at different stages, and I actually directly jump onto the product demo. So the data acquisition thing that we spoke about was, so typically what we have done is we have focused on the objects or the domain objects that really matter in the industrial world. So for example, part transactions, equipments, warranties, service contracts, bill of materials, your excess inventories, your part list. There could be quotes for renewal and consumables and a lot of other stuff, right? Once we have drilled down on these data models and build, so what we have done is we have drilled down all these data model and build a standard and a purpose built model, uh, meaning that in each of these objects, what you'd find a standard set of fields and also custom fields where customers can do customization based on their wish. Uh, and now on top of this model, what we're doing is once we get the data in the raw format, we would do data profiling for all these type of objects. We have built purpose-built cleansers. For example, we want to clean serial numbers or item descriptions, categorize items into different categories. And even once we have done all this categorization, we'll have to push it to our standard data model. This is where we would do mapping between the source column and the destination columns. At times, we also see that many of the attributes would be missing, right? So this is where we look if the attributes are part of the public domain. We have a lot of enrichment services, and if they are available in your customer manuals or in your product catalogs, we have certain set of services we could extract data and do those things. So this is what we do into the profiling, cleaning, and unification. And once we know that we have improved the data quality to a great extent, only then we feed it to our analytics pipeline and finally our to our systems where the data is fed. So it could be in form of files, it could be in form of our web product, which is Entytle Insights. It could we have a lot of our customers have subscribed to our open APIs, which they pull data at a defined frequency. We have also published this to our customers' Power BI dashboard or to their data warehouses like Snowflake or anything else, right? So this is what basically what we do. But uh, basically the proof of the pudding is in eating. So what I'll do is I'll show the actual demo of the product that we have. Okay, so everything that I showed you, right, was there are different phases from data acquisition to data delivery, right? So this is best represented in form of a canvas, and that's what is part of our product. That you'd see data coming in form of a spreadsheet from S3. You have data coming from Snowflake, from SQL, from a database. We have seen people sharing text files, Excel files, and all of them coming together into a single large file. And this is where, and what we do is the process that we have built is everything, since everything is around the standard objects that we have. You have orders, assets, services, service contracts, warranties, and each of these objects may have further down standard attributes. Like, all of the transactional objects may have a contact associated with it, they may have an address associated to it, and they may also have to go to their respective destination tables, right? And once we have cleaned this data, unified all this to the central repository that you see here in form of a database, we feed it to our analytics pipeline, and we have a wide range of analytics services just focus on the use cases of what our customers would look for, right? So when we say that, there are different personas that you'd see. One is basically the data profiling, stitching, and the cleaning related stuff, which is basically the foundation, which would act as the base. Because if you don't get your data right if you don't get your data quality right, no matter how sophisticated your algorithms are, they are not going to work. So this is where we have built a lot of data profiling, stitching, and cleaning services. And once this is done, we have another workspace, which is basically analytics and setup. So analytics is basically the descriptive, predictive, and the prescriptive set of services that we have built on installed base data. And just like any CRM or ERP system would have a setup where you want to configure something, set up metadata, set up user management, have a maybe set up certain feature attributes. All those things can be done on the setup part. And coming back to my original point, why did we build this? We built this studio to enable our own people first to deliver deliver or install base use cases at scale and in a repeatable format. And I think after having worked for a large number of customers, we are now thinking of exposing it directly to our customers so that they could do it by themselves. So let's first go get into the data prep workspace. So what you would see into a data prep workspace is a wide range of services. It's like a data prep service, and all these names are self-explanatory. So data prep is the place where you prepare your data by stitching it, by doing a lot of operations onto it. Data loader is when is basically you load data into your system. Delta load is load incremental data into your system. Imagine that you would have given a huge chunk of data to us, which we would have cleaned and unified and put it into our system. And then now you would give us incremental data at a predefined frequency. It could be weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or even daily, which happens for some of our customers, right? So that delta load process happens automatically. And I, and there is something called as deduplication. So what we really do here is, since you have seen the data come from different systems, your opportunities come from CRM, your transactions come from an ERP system, you could have service data into some other third-party system, right? But the common identifier in all of this is location, your customer data. And this is where what we have done is we have written a custom dedupe service, which is basically a combination of rule-based plus AI/ML, where we generate clusters and deduplicate locations for you, and every transactional data that we have, be it orders, assets, services, is tied around those customer attributes, right? So I know we are short of time, but I'll just focus on the data prep piece of it initially, because this is where we would see most of the action happening. Because if we don't get this right, the entire pipeline would go wrong, right? So what you see here is basically, imagine that you would have shared 100 different spreadsheet to us, and then what we have done is we have done a union of all of them, merged all of them together, and brought them here, right? Why is it important to look at all of the data together is because we want to see what is the cardinality of data, meaning how unique the data is. What is the data distribution that you have? Are there any outliers in your data? Are there any missing values? For example, if you have an equipment data and if you don't have equipment ship date, right? So, and even if you have it, you'll have to see that what is the distribution of your data. What you can see here is 50% of the records have a ship date of 2020, right? Then you would see what is the item category, what is the distribution of my item category. For example, you would have shared a transactional data with me, and I would want to see which transaction, which item category is reflecting in most of the transactions. And you can clearly see here is 30%, 38% of the transactions are happening in lab, right? And you would see what are the valid values, are there any missing values, what is the distribution. Here you can see there are, out of the 294,000 records, only 93 are distinct, meaning relatively, as far as the categorization of item is concerned, it is good data. But what you would see in description is you would see a bunch of different attributes, like missing or something else. So it means that you would want to see if there are some randomly random inputs that have been put in your data. So generally what we do is, since we have a interactive way of setting up with our customers, so what we do is when we get that initial set of data, we look at the profile, share this profile report in form of PDF to our customers, where they can look at the outliers and the data distribution by themselves. And believe me, there are many people, many of our customers, when they look at this report, it's basically even they realize a lot of things that they would not have seen, which would have otherwise lied in spreadsheet or into different systems, right? So this data profiling helps us to do correct actions and act on the data, sorry, in the initial stage, right? Now, once I would have cleaned or once I have a basically unified view and a profile view of my data, what I can do is I can start doing different data operations. So that's where there's no code, something tools like install based data studio come into picture, which are no code, low code in nature. So for example, you may want to merge two columns by a specific delimiter. You may want to split a column by a delimiter. You may want to delete all the invalid columns or a set of columns which you think are not relevant to you. You may want to just delete them. For better readability, you may want to rename those columns. Then another no code, low code aspect is basically some of the use cases are you may want to do a find replace. For example, you know that there certain attribute is required, so you may want to replace all the missing values in a string column by a standard identifier, or you may want to replace all the missing values in date columns by a standard date bar or by a cutoff date, which you can identify later that this is missing, right? There are even more complex operations like conditions. You may want to create new columns by certain conditions, saying that create new column named demo, which means that and by certain conditions, if order type is empty and maybe industry segment is not empty, then what you would say is you delete rows, or you do not delete rows, or you do a bunch of string operations. If you're creating a column of type number, you can do a bunch of number operations. So these operations that you see here may look elementary to you, like merging a column, splitting a column, or deleting a column. But what you see here is any operation that you do here on the data goes in form of a recipe. So this is where the repeatability aspect comes into picture, because what you do is once you would have written a recipe, looking at the profile of your data, you would have written a recipe, and then you start sharing incremental data loads or delta loads as we call. All we have to do is basically import the data set, import the recipe, run the job, and then it goes, gets fed to a pipeline where you do all those things, right? There are many other operations, like, if you want SQL type joins. So you can do left join, inner join, right join. You can drop duplicates. Uh, you can specify a uniqueness criteria. You would say that a combination of customer name, industry segment, and order type is unique. So keep all those records, otherwise you drop everything else. Then there is also something called as a change data type. So what you see here are a bunch of labels, right? You see something like 123, meaning it is a number, ABC, meaning it is a string. Now here, if you see, there is a column auto cutoff date, which is a 123. But if you see here, this this looks like a date to me. So what I can do is I can take this and I can say that there is a column date format, and then I'm converting to a date. Again, I can convert it into a standard date format. So generally what happens is when people take dump from their systems, they get data in form of a Unix timestamp. You can convert a Unix timestamp into a YYYM date format. And if it's not a Unix timestamp, something like this, what you can do is you can specify your own pattern. In this case, if you see, you have YYYY, and then you have month, and then you have day, right? So what is going to happen is the input date that you have, which the framework detected as a numeric date, you can convert it into a YYYMDD format. So this way, even if data comes from different systems, the date format is different. What you can do is you can build your own pattern and save it into the recipe and create a new column by that, and when I click run, what it will do, it will run an iteration for me and run all these SCP steps in this order. Then there are other set of operations. You can trim certain characters. You may want to trim white space, single quotes, double quotes, or you want to trim a specific custom value. People also may want to create standard column with a constant value, or create a copy of other columns. Right? You can create a string column, number column, date column, or a Boolean column. There are SQL type group by operations, where you say that group by the order cutoff date and give me the count of distinct transactions that happened by order date, or group by customer country, and you can say customer, or maybe group by a customer zip, and maybe a county, and give me the distinct values, right? Within there is a one more step ahead in the group by is, within a group you may want to rank a certain thing. So you would say that group by customer name, state, zip, country, and order by customer number, and that's way that will give a rank to each of the record in your data set. So there are other operations, no code operations like explode rows or union data sets and so on. But the entire crux here is, whatever that we're doing here is in form of a recipe. Next time you give us the same data set or similar data set, we already have a template, and all we could do is just go and replace the data set here and run the complete flow. So this is where, just imagine that the data is flowing in this way. So you have a bunch of different data sources coming together and doing different set of services. And once this data has been prepped and stitched together, we have analytics, purpose-built analytics services like FCR. If I'll just go here and tell you about each of the services. So we have a segmentation service. We can divide our customers by usage segment and customer segment based on the purchase or the revenue patterns. Calculate the frequency, consistency, and recency. Calculate the customer loyalty. Generate predictive and prescriptive opportunities. Rank the contacts based on their occurrences into different transactional objects. Calculate the probability at which at a location level that location would transact something from you. So basically our framework, as you would have seen by now, focuses heavily on install-based data models and standard set of use cases that we see across our customer base. And since it is in form of SaaS application, and basically a scalable and a repeatable form, it really helps in delivering everything at speed and in an accurate manner. So with this, I'd like to take a pause here and see if we have any questions. Over to you, DJ.
Thank you, Shri. That was a rather detailed demo of the IB Studio, and thank you for clarifying a lot of the concepts for us mere mortals who don't understand the technicalities of these things. Okay, so I think we have just enough time to maybe take one or two questions. The first one is, do I need IT help to run this particular tool?
Good question, DJ. So what you would have seen here, the way we have built it, it is a no-code, low-code tool where anybody, even with the knowledge of Excel, could come and use this, because merging a column, splitting a column, or even SQL type joins are equivalent to VLOOKUP or something, right? So what we have done is try to keep it as simple as possible, and our objective is basically to democratize this thing, democratize all the workflows around aftermarket and install base for our customers. So the short answer is slightly. It's not that we cannot come and say that you don't at all need a technical background, but someone who would have worked on Excel or spreadsheets or Google Sheets would be able to do it.
Got it. Thank you, Shri. Let's see if there are any more questions that came in. I think that's about it. So we are right at the allocated hour. Shri, thank you so much again. And thank you everyone for attending this event. We'll get the recording out to you as early as possible, as soon as we've processed this. And hope to see you at the next event. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Yep. Thank you.